We lose 10 children a month in Arizona alone to pharmaceutical overdose, and I think that's tragic. I know that, I looked back in my own time when I was in high school, and I thought to myself, who got in trouble? Who got in the most trouble, and who lost their life during their high school time from experimentation? And it was the kids that got involved with either pharmaceuticals or alcohol. It was never the kids with the marijuana. Kids should never take marijuana on any kind of regular basis, but my feeling was that if my daughter was going to end up going to some party and she had some kind of choice, I wanted her to make the choice that would save her life. I'm a woman raised with a respect for life. I'm a mom who wants to keep kids safe, and I never wanted another mother to get that call that said their child overdosed because they went out to have some fun with their friends and they didn't understand what they had in their hand. Alcohol is certainly our greatest problem, according to our Arizona Youth Survey. I've got a little chart here. Anyone who looks into this can see that alcohol is certainly our greatest problem, yet our substance abuse organizations seem to focus on marijuana, again, a substance that never took a life on record. I was raised to respect authority. I was raised to obey the law. I was raised to trust my doctor. But I was also raised to tell the truth, and that's why I'm here. After what I've seen, I can't keep quiet, quite honestly, because I know that this is too good to keep to myself. I feel I have a moral obligation, honestly, to come forward and tell the truth about what I've seen. To take a second, I'd like to thank our collective maker for bringing us here together, and for everyone who's about to hear what we have to offer. I'd like to thank the participants that came here today to bring this truth to the folks, and just tell you that, without the pioneers, there'd be no progress. And I thank you for showing up to bring your local resources and information. I want to thank this venue for having us. It was awfully nice of them, knowing the controversial subject that we were bringing to them. They were nice enough to poster. Much of the staff here has been very understanding. In fact, everyone I've run into has been very understanding and open about the subject, which is very wonderful, I think, just for the conversation to be started all week with these posters here in the last couple weeks, so people understand what's happening. In that, we want to respect the venue. If you are a medical marijuana patient, please do not medicate on these grounds. And let's respect our venue. Hopefully we'll get more folks in here, so we'll have to worry about crosstalk, but even with the folks that are here, when it's your turn to talk, please, let's not have other conversations happening so we can all hear each other. For years I've stood for breaking stereotypes for the silent majority, because I know that there are so many folks out there who either medicate with medical cannabis and have for many, many, many years, as it is a medicine that's been used for thousands of years. In fact, Queen Elizabeth used it for her menstrual cramps. And that's just documented, and there's so much history. There's so much, it just goes on and on. But they always felt alienated. So folks don't want to speak out, and they don't want to say that, hey, I use cannabis, I use marijuana, because they felt like it was wrong, it was immoral, and they didn't want to tell anyone. So that made them feel alienated. They wouldn't speak out for the fear that they would lose their home, their job, their children, but especially, their freedom in doing so. So that's why I've stood up for the past 6 years and tried to speak for the mainstream, because I've seen too much how much good we can do. Doctors have lost their licenses over the years, and families have suffered the expense of prohibition. Prohibition of marijuana came from a competition. It's lasted over 77 years, and it's taken its toll on our environment and on our bodies. I've seen the harm that alcohol's done. I lost my dad when he was 42 years old to alcohol poisoning. As I said earlier, I lost several high school classmates. And while marijuana is not harmless, as you see, I have this on here, it's certainly not harmless, but it's never taken a life on record, and that's according to the Center for Disease Control. I was awfully skeptical about medical marijuana when it was first suggested to me that they were coming here to do Prop 203. I thought, what is this? Is this something they're going to tell folks so they can think that it's a medicine and they're gonna then, make it a law. Well, I thought that's okay with me, and I'm willing to get behind that because I wanted to see justice be done. I knew there was a need and an injustice in this situation, especially when I heard the history, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So I was willing to get behind that. But what I've seen in the last year, in the years since Prop 203 passed, is my friends coming to me and saying, I can't believe it. I got off these prescription drugs and now I feel like 20 years younger. I've gotten off the couch, and these even 40-year-old people are telling me they feel 20 years younger. It's crazy. And again, a moral obligation. I have a moral obligation to stand here and tell, and I hope to tell more and more people. And we actually, honestly, you guys, we had about 80-something people out of Sun City. And I think the newspaper's gonna make the difference there. But I'm glad you're here. And again, I was skeptical, and I know a lot of people are skeptical. I've run into so many folks, in fact, at the mall. I walked the mall the other day. It was very interesting. I ran into a couple of gals, and I hope they'll be here sometime before 3 o'clock. I put a flyer in their hand, and I said, would you like to come to our free buffet on Saturday? It's here, a familiar area everybody knows, and come on out and get some good information. And she took it, and they were probably in their late 70s or 80s, and the lady, she looks at me and she goes, oh, that marijuana. And I said, well, yeah, and she goes, whoever signed that in the law is gonna rue the day that they did that. And I said, well, here's the trouble, is that folks are finding out that they're taking this medical marijuana and they're feeling better, they're improving, extending, and sometimes even saving their lives. And she's just looking at me like, I had 3 heads. And I said, well, I sat with Sheriff Joe Arpaio for 3 hours and I talked to him about it. And he understands medical marijuana now. And that was it. Now the two of them, I like Sheriff Joe. And I said, well, yeah, who doesn't like Sheriff Joe? And then, at that point, now she's on board. A couple hands went up, I know. Guys, that's what I said to these 2 ladies at the mall. And, the fact is that he is an amicable, he's a nice fellow to sit with, and for 3 hours he did listen to my good information. So that to me was golden, and he was not only willing, but he wanted to take this picture and post it on Facebook, which I thought was hysterical. The neat thing about that especially is that Sheriff Joe was, what did he say when you get your job and your person signs you in? Harry Anslinger was the guy who inducted him into the DEA. And the neat thing about Harry Anslinger, if any of you guys know who this fellow is, he was the head of the DEA since the 30s when marijuana prohibition began. Well, this was a nephew of a guy named Mellon, who was the Secretary of the Treasury, and they had a little thing called the Marijuana Tax Act, and that's how they made marijuana illegal back in the 30s. When you have friends in the government and folks, in power who have a lot of money and influence, like Rockefeller, Mellon, Hearst, these folks kind of got together and thought, you know what, hemp's not going to work. Hemp is something that can make 4 times the fiber that trees can, and Hearst was in the tree business. Hemp is something that can replace oil and chemicals and all these things that we've used, that we put on our body that are made of oils and chemicals, and now we're having these cancers from the toxicity from these things, when hemp doesn't need any pesticides to become clothes and these things. Hemp could have given us a whole new environment. We want to go green, that would be the best way we could go green. We want to go green, we really need to start with our bodies. We need to start with our temple. Take the toxins out of our temple, try something new. And that's why I'm here. I want you guys to know that it's okay to try something new, that it's not naughty, it's natural. We've got so much good news coming in. What I've witnessed again since Prop 203 passed, everybody's feeling better. Not only that, they're getting off their couch and they're paying attention to their children. And that was another thing I noticed about pharmaceuticals, is that we have 1 in 5 children on some kind of daily maintenance medication. These medications are made of the same components as meth, street meth, amphetamines. And anyone that's verifiable, you can certainly internet that. If you're not on the internet, I hope you get on the internet because it's a world of information. When I was in Sheriff Joe's office, I spelled this out for him. I said, children are being prescribed by their trusted doctor and their mother's think their kids have something wrong with them, and they're taking and giving these children drugs that have methamphetamine in them every day, legally. Why is this okay? When they don't have these prescriptions, they're looking for meth on the street because they're now addicted. Not only that, they go on to having an addiction later in life. Many of these kids on ADHD drugs go on to have alcohol addiction, and that's well documented as well. Again, please be on the internet if you're not, because everything I say is verifiable at my website, momforceaz.org. Has all links to everything I have to say, because I don't want you guys to think I would stand here and tell you anything but the truth. We have good news coming in from the Arizona Youth Survey. It says that teen use is down, marijuana use is down in Arizona since 2010. Teen use is also down in Colorado by the Colorado Healthy Kids Report. When there's legal regulation, a substance is sold and an ID is asked for. People ask for an ID. So kids don't get it as easily. So believe it or not, in Colorado, teen marijuana use is down, as well as Arizona. The other good news in Arizona is that prescription drug use and alcohol abuse is down. I believe that that's all in education. We've been educating the heck out of Arizona about alternatives, safer alternatives. And again, while we don't want teens taking marijuana, we certainly don't want them to lose their life. The other good news from Colorado, homicide's down. Violent crime is down. Rape is down. Homicide's down 30%. Sexual assault's down 15%. This is just from legalization, just from January to, I think that it ended up in August, was the end of that. Coming from denver.gov, denver.gov, that's very easy to get to. My sources are always the most credible sources that you can find, because I don't believe in going anywhere else and having our opposition say that we got our information from High Times. My information comes from the National Cancer Institute. It comes from our own government websites, the American Medical Association, etc. From the common headache to killing cancer cells, this is certainly medicine, and it's been used for thousands of years. I've seen the harm done by pharma. I've talked to Sheriff Joe. They told me I was right. I was dead on when I said that when kids run out of their legal prescription, they look for meth on the street. When people run out of their legal pain medications, these have the same opiates as heroin. When they run out of these overprescribed opiates, they go to the street for heroin. And that's just, again, please be on the internet. I've got more facts up here. Marijuana never took a life on record. The fact is, if you can go to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control's website, they will spell it out for you. How many deaths have come from alcohol? I think it's 80-something thousand. Prescription drug use, 36,000. There's no record for marijuana because there's never been life taken from marijuana. Let's see, I want to make sure I covered everything else. Arizona ranks number 6 in the USA for prescription drug abuse. We have some of the easiest laws in Arizona on pharmaceuticals. You can get pharmaceuticals pretty easy, and they'll write a prescription, they'll rewrite it, no problem. These are toxic, folks. These are toxic, and we're offering an alternative. We have to break the cycle of addiction and save some lives. I had the opportunity to work at a dispensary for a couple months, and it really opened my eyes, because there's such an assortment. There's folks that come in there and they're in their 70s and they're just really looking for some pain relief. They're looking to sleep and they really need some good information. On the opposite side, yes, we do have the younger guys that come in and they look a little funny, and you guys are kind of the older folks, kind of look at them and go, what is this? Everybody is able to get a prescription for pain medication. Anyone who goes to a doctor can get a prescription. All they have to say is, this hurts, and they will write a prescription. Some of these folks have pain. We've got veterans in their 20s that need this relief. And I believe that. I've met them. Excuse me, I get a little upset. So in the 30s, folks, I'm going to wrap it up pretty quick so we can get to our next speaker. Were you going to touch on this? Because I could leave it to you. If you want to do the 30s. My thing about the 30s is the oil, paper, and chemical folks. All they wanted, they want you to have nylons for your girl. If you guys remember that, everybody need to have a set of nylons. It's because they were made of oil and chemicals. Again, we have to get these things out of our lives and these toxins away from us. In 1970, they solidified it with the Controlled Substance Act, and they said that cannabis has no medical value, none, even though we've seen all this evidence. You have to question. Even though you want to trust the government, you want to trust your doctors, at some point you have to go, is this right or is this wrong? It's a big business, pain management. It's a big business. There's solid evidence to show that marijuana is non-addictive. Pain medication, very addictive. Regulation has proven to help with teen use. It's proven to get drugs out of the hands of the youth. If OxyContin's legal, and it takes a life every 20 minutes in our country, I believe that cannabis should probably be legal as well. I'm also a representative of Americans for Safe Access, an affiliate, and we have a thing on the ground here, a little group called Arizonans for Safe Access, which I invite you to be a part of. It's folks that take a little action. You don't have to necessarily come to the meetings, but just connect with us on Facebook. We've got so many great things going on in the state where you can stand up and speak out. Use your voice, because that's what we need to do. We all need to speak out and tell them that we're tired of prohibition. We're actually sick of prohibition. We are literally sick of prohibition. We've heard about people using cannabis for nausea for years, related to cancer. When you come up here, when we're done talking, we've got the patent from the United States. It's the United States patent for cannabinoids as an antioxidant and neuroprotectant. We have, where'd it go? It's over here. We've got the National Cancer Institute's report on how cannabis is killing cancer cells, among other things, helping with Alzheimer's, helping with agitation of Alzheimer's. There's just a myriad of things that it's helping with. Alzheimer's, ALS, arthritis, that's just the A's. People only need a few basic things to keep healthy and happy. Healthy food,